Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We have explored the intricate origin story of the U.S. government's psychic spy program under the visionary Hal Puthoff and the rigorous statistical framework later imposed by Dr. Edwin May. But the truly vital, foundational step, the engineering required to transform the abstract, often ridiculed idea of extrasensory perception into a quantifiable, repeatable procedure suitable for intelligence collection, belongs unequivocally to Dr. Russell Targ. Targ was not merely a curious academic, he was a serious, highly respected figure in the world of physics, holding numerous patents for his pioneering work in the development and application of the laser. His prior scientific achievements provided the institutional credibility and, more importantly, the methodological discipline required to attract substantial government funding in a domain historically viewed with profound skepticism. The intellectual challenge he embraced in 1972 was immense. How do you build a physical science double-blind experiment around a phenomenon that by its very nature defied conventional physics? The resulting research, funded initially by the CIA and later by the Defense Intelligence Agency, was not a flight of fancy. It needed to satisfy a key pragmatic military requirement. Could this purported human capacity reliably acquire information that was physically inaccessible by conventional means, whether due to distance, shielding, or security? Targ's core contribution was the engineering of the data acquisition and validation process itself, creating the strict documented protocols that defined the operational structure of remote viewing for the next 2 decades. The objectives laid out in the earliest contracts co-authored by Targ and Puthoff, particularly the key CIA reports from 1973 and 1974, were explicitly focused on scientific validation. The goal was twofold. First, to empirically eliminate the possibility of cheating, fraud, or conventional sensory leakage, and second, to provide statistically defensible data that could stand up to external scientific review. They needed a system that minimized the potential for cueing from the experimenter. A real quote, this is from CIA document May 1973 concerning the SRI work. The general objective of this program is to use psychophysiological techniques to augment men's capacity to acquire, process, and act upon information. The effort has been focused on research in the area of remote viewing, with emphasis on developing protocols that provide high statistical assurance. End quote. To achieve this high statistical assurance, Targ's team was instrumental in developing 2 fundamental interwoven components of the STARGATE process: the outbound experimenter protocol and the rigorous target randomization system, often termed the coordinate or location cueing system. The outbound experimenter was a crucial methodological safeguard against direct cueing. In this model, one experimenter, the outbound, would physically travel to a randomly selected target site. Simultaneously, the subject or remote viewer remained completely shielded from all sensory input within the SRI laboratory, attempting to describe the location based on nothing more than a time, date, or set of coordinates. Critically, the subject had no contact with the outbound person until the session was formally complete and documented. This isolation ensured a rigorous single-blind to double-blind condition on the receiver's end. A quote from the SRI report to CIA in 1974 detailing the methodology. Targets are selected randomly by an independent third party, often utilizing a random number generator or pre-numbered sealed envelopes. The subject is physically shielded from the target. The subject provides a verbal or graphic transcript, which is later judged by external review against a pool of potential target sites to prevent judging bias. End quote. This protocol, rigorously enforced by Targ, ensured that any information transfer observed could only have occurred through an unconventional means, as all conventional communication pathways were explicitly blocked and accounted for. Furthermore, it was Targ and his colleagues who formalized the language of the discipline, successfully moving away from the more esoteric terms prevalent in parapsychology to the neutral, operationally focused phrase remote viewing, which better suited the intelligence community's pragmatic request. The initial phase of the program, where Targ's methodological rigor was the driving force in the laboratory, produced some of the most dramatic and highly classified successes that ultimately justified the program's massive expansion into the military apparatus. Targ's team meticulously worked with key subjects like Ingo Swann and Pat Price, whose performances are extensively documented throughout the declassified archives. One frequently cited early success documented in CIA files involved an experiment designed to test the limits of psychic perception on non-physical targets, such as information contained within sealed enclosures. Ingo Swann was tasked with describing a sealed file containing a specific map. CIA summary of Ingo Swann's early performance from 1973. This is a quote. Swann was able to accurately draw the rough topographical features of the target map placed in the sealed box, including the location of several features that were verified to be correct upon unsealing by the experimenter. The correspondence between the drawing and the target map was statistically significant, end quote. The subsequent results achieved with Pat Price proved even more compelling to the hardline intelligence community. Price, often supervised by Targ, was tasked with describing sites often thousands of miles away, and his accurate, verifiable descriptions of foreign military and industrial facilities proved actionable intelligence, a critical threshold for continued funding. A quote from a DIA report on remote viewing utility in 1980, reflecting on the foundation established by SRI. Subject Price was able to provide accurate descriptions of certain operational details of a large foreign research facility located outside of the United States, including specific architectural elements and internal machinery later corroborated by other intelligence sources, thereby demonstrating an intelligence utility, end quote. Targ himself meticulously chronicled these early triumphs and co-authored technical reports, which were essential in demonstrating a statistically significant correlation between the viewer's descriptions and the intended targets. His ability to deliver structured early data showing high-level hits was crucial. Without this initial success and the methodology backing it, the CIA would almost certainly have terminated the contract before the decade was out. As the program successfully demonstrated its proof of concept, its mission fundamentally evolved. It transitioned from an open-ended research and development project, Targ's initial domain, to a more focused operational testing program, soon falling under the control of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the U.S. Army. It was at this stage that the program was formalized under code names like Grill Flame and later the overreaching STARGATE. This transition necessitated a shift in focus from pure scientific validation to tactical operational utility. Targ's direct daily involvement in the program lessened as the focus shifted towards large-scale statistical consistency under Dr. Edwin May's later management. However, the foundational methodological framework that Targ established, the reliance on the outbound experimenter model, the stringent double-blind judging protocols, and the insistence on quantifying subjective data, remained the necessary structural controls for the entire program's 2-decade duration. These controls were the program's primary defense against accusations of methodological sloppiness. The final comprehensive evaluation of the entire 2-decade program, which was commissioned by the CIA in 1995 upon its final termination, acknowledged the existence of the anomalous effect, the very phenomenon Targ championed, but ultimately rendered a pragmatic verdict based on logistics. Final CIA review conclusion 1995 assessing the overall program. The evidence suggests that remote viewing is real, but it is not useful for the purpose of intelligence collection due to inconsistency in the low signal-to-noise ratio. The cost and difficulty extracting actionable information outweighed the benefits, end quote. The government's final assessment was a cold, pragmatic rejection of the technology's intelligence applicability, not a scientific rejection of the phenomenon itself. Dr. Russell Targ's enduring legacy is that he successfully transformed a controversial belief into a structured government-funded science project, providing the indispensable methodology required to make the extraordinary ordinary enough for 2 decades of official procurement. Dr. Russell Targ, the laser physicist who made the Psychic Spy program possible, designed the core scientific protocols that governed all subsequent remote viewing research. His work in the 1970s provides the clearest documented evidence of the U.S. government's initial successful attempts to structurally investigate and weaponize consciousness. Next time, we shift our focus entirely to one of the most enduring and controversial mysteries of the 20th century. We will dive deep into the CIA's declassified records surrounding the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. We will meticulously examine the official documents released under the JFK Assassination Records Review Board, focusing specifically on the details contained within the declassified CIA Memorandum 1035-960 on Lee Harvey Oswald's contacts in Mexico City. The file that details the conflicting intelligence reports and fueled decades of speculation about the agency's knowledge of Oswald's activities. We will quote directly from the declassified files that continue to shape the historical debate, asking what the CIA truly knew and when. Until then, I'll see you in the archives.